and I built with my son. It's going to be very, very old school because I'm recording this with my iPhone without an extra mic. I'm not at my home, I'm in the home of a friend. Oh, let me try and see if this, oh boy, this might become a challenge. Anyway, I brought my mic to this home. I'm in the home of a friend and I brought my mic. However, my phone battery is almost dead, so I had to connect the charger. So now the charger is in the thingy where the microphone also needs to be in, and they can't be in there simultaneously. So I had to choose, but that's okay. I figured it would be nice to try and see, one of these really old school videos. So I'm here with a cat, and I don't know. I think if I explain to you how I'm really longing for a cabin in the woods myself, I do remember I recorded a Patreon only. I have a Patreon page, and people that become my patrons get one extra video a month, and I do know that for my last month's video I explained all about the cabin in the woods and how I wanted it and basically everything about it. But now I'm not sure if I did create another cabin in the woods back home with our own Duplo bricks. These are the bricks of my friend. And now I'm kind of in doubt whether or not I mentioned it, or if I uploaded that video, or if I just thought about making it into a video and never actually did. Yeah, I'm not sure. So anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll just summarize it quickly. Recently I look at that cat. Recently I came across the videos of Hannah Lee Duggan, and I love them. And she's a young woman. She lives in Minnesota, I think, in the United States, that is. And she decided to buy a cabin in the woods, and it's very rustic and not too big, and she had to do a lot of work on it herself. And she creates videos about that whole process, and I'm living for it. I've been binging her videos and I can't stop thinking about a cabin in the woods, which in the Netherlands is like near impossible and very expensive, and even if you have a lot of money it's still near impossible. So it's a way different situation than in the States, which makes sense because we have a lot of inhabitants and not a lot of land. And in the United States there are lots of rural areas where, the density is low, which obviously makes land to buy easier and cheaper. So to still enjoy a cabin in the woods, I've been focused on cabin in the woods, like I've been getting library books about it. Yeah, I showed a library book in the last Patreon video, I think. Yes, I did. Well, anyway, one of the things I've been doing is building houses. So here we are. Let's see. I've tried to build these several times, and there was again, yeah, I think I did show, or did I show you the boat? I showed you a boat recently. Wow, this video is all over the place. Doesn't matter. The thing is, I tried to build the best cabin in the woods that I could with the existing blocks, so that's like a limitation. So I picked out all the cabiny wooden course of a week and a half that we've been staying in this home. I tried it 3 or 4 or 5 times, and this is the only one that I'm happy about. The thing is, the number of blocks in these colors were limited. I think I've used about all of them in this video. No, for this build. And in the first couple of me, trying to build a cabin in the woods that I liked, I tried to build it very neatly, so all the blocks would stick together, just be very neatly stacked. And I just had 2 little blocks, but also the cabin became very boxy, and it just wasn't the right vibe. So then in the end, after building another one and not liking it, I decided I should approach it differently. I have to make it way more organic. And as you can see now, there's just holes in there, and it's rustic. But I feel like that's the way you would build if you would build a cabin in the woods without adding, all kinds of construction materials. But you would just go into the woods and build yourself a cabin. Then you would just, first wander around and see, what you could find, and then you would use that. So that's actually kind of the same, it also has limitations, and you work with what you got. So that is what I tried to do then. And I put this woman in here. So this represents Hannah, the woman that creates the videos that I love so much. I'll link them in the description below, obviously. Oh no, don't make a lot of noise. There's a ladder to get on top of there, but I'll put it away because the cat is gonna destroy this all. First, I only wanted to put the woman in there because she lives alone in the woods, and I love that very much. But then my son brought this guy, which I think is Bob the Builder, but I'm not sure. So he brought this guy, and then I was like, okay, sure, you can join. It's so funny. Usually when I play with my son, I pretty much let him play, and I just kind of watch, or I get a little bit involved, but I let him decide on the action, and I like for him to explore his own fantasy. I don't want to interfere too much by me telling what the story should be or what the game should be. But then when we're starting to playing with these bricks, I'm just like, no, these are mine, leave me alone. So he also put the flower on top of that tree. So I built trees kinda creatively. And it was funny because once I decided that I was gonna do it this way, I became pretty much, I don't want to say obsessed, but I became, what did I become? I just saw all these possibilities. For example, there is a fire, so I was like, I can make a campfire. So then I knew like, oh, I can take those colors and I can put these logs around, and suddenly I saw that tank, what's the word? And this is from the fire truck, but it's like now there's a little bit of water inside, and there's a white bed inside of the cabin. You can just see the rim of it. That's very fitting because this Hannah person really likes white clothes and white linen, white bedding stuff. And then we added a sheep and a goat, and there is a wheelbarrow with a blue suitcase. The suitcase doesn't really make sense, but I felt it was kind of mysterious, like what's in a suitcase. So I like that. And then there's a cactus plant with a flower on top, and I think that's actually pretty realistic, although I must say that I think I know what a blooming cactus looks like because of Stardew Valley, a game that I've been playing a lot. And in that game there are cactuses, and they get these red, well, it's not exactly a flower like this, it's more like a bulb, but it's very bright red. So I think it looks like it. So let me just sit back for a little bit and enjoy this view. I really like to play with Lego bricks. I just feel like, wow, it's so nice. It's so nice to come up with creative things, and yeah, is, I'm gonna say this in Dutch because you won't understand. It is www.fuckdiestudiesschuld.nl. There you can find it if you're interested. So, yeah. So let me see. I might whisper about, what else can I whisper about? I was like, I need to record this video now because in about 20 minutes I have to leave. I have to pick up my son from daycare. So I have this quick little bit of time and I was like, okay, let's record a video. That's why I didn't want to postpone it and wait for the charger to charge the phone and then use the mic. And I don't know, I've been having more energy lately. It's a good feeling. Like a couple of weeks ago, or even last week, or no, Sunday, it's Tuesday today, but even Sunday I feel like if I would have a 20-minute window, I would just be like, okay, that's too short to do anything, so I might as well lay on the couch. I don't know. And now I'm like, oh, 20 minutes, that's actually enough to, well, record a whisper video or clean something, or, you know, there's actually a lot of stuff you can do in 20 minutes. And I don't know, it's so strange sometimes if I'm just feeling, if I have a lot of energy and it will be like 9 o'clock in the morning and I know I have this whole day ahead of me, I can just very enthusiastically start doing a task and just pour my heart into it, and then I might even be finished in 20 minutes. But because then there is no deadline and I just know it can take me an hour, or, you know, however long it should take me, it just feels way more relaxed. But at the same time, sometimes it works to have a deadline because then you're actually done way faster. But if you're not enjoying the process, well, as you know, I'm always thinking about this, experimenting with time management. And there's now a thought popping up in my head, which is kind of random, has nothing to do with cabins in the woods, but I'm gonna share because I wanna whisper some more. I noticed the same thing at the newspaper where I used to work. The last 2 years that I worked there, I worked for the internet crew. So basically I was still writing stories, but I would publish them on internet. I would be like the digital journalist group. And before I would be like a general journalist group or research journalist, investigative journalist for a while. Well, for 5 years actually. And then, I mean, my stories would still appear on the internet, but I would first primarily write usually for the actual paper, newspaper. And then after I had completed the task, I would make sure it would also be published on the internet. And the thing is, if you would work for the newspaper, then you have a deadline, like you have to turn it at some point because the thing had to be, you know, created. And also there's a number of words that you need to write, and it can't be more because then it won't fit, but it also can't be less because, well, you know, you can change it a little bit by enlarging a picture or something, but I mean, there's just a certain range of words that you need to deliver, and that added stress to my life. And while it was happening, I didn't even realize it that much because I didn't think that it could be different, so I didn't realize it. But sometimes I would start to write and I would be like, oh my god, but I have to write like this amount of words, that's a lot, and I would feel a little bit stressed about it, and that would actually make sure that I had less joy, or the joy was just completely gone. But also it would feel a little bit difficult to write, you know, it wasn't that creative because I just felt stressed. And then the funny thing is, I went to the internet people because I love the internet. I mean, I'm a digital person. So I really wanted to be part of that group. But one of the advantages that I hadn't seen coming is that once I started writing stories for the internet were still the same stories. I would have no deadline, meaning usually it would be good if, I couldn't just take like 3 weeks to write one story, but the deadline would be less harsh because, if you publish your story 5 minutes later, you can just do that. So it wasn't like a hard deadline. And also the number of words is very flexible on the internet. You have way more chances to just write the story and then, see whatever words that turned out to be. So I noticed that writing stories like this felt way more relaxed. And then the thing that surprised me a lot, the things that I turned out to write usually were about the same number of words that I was always writing my stories. But the stress was gone. And that was just because when I started writing a story, somehow in newspaper you usually don't count words, but you count lines. That's because if it's published in an actual paper newspaper, there's these lines in it. You have to come up with a certain number of lines, so we'll fit exactly. So like before, I would usually write, for example, a regular size is like 80 lines. That's like if you have a newspaper page and there's like one big story with an image and then some smaller things around. The bigger one is usually 80 lines. Can be 100, can be 120, but something like that. And then I thought when I was writing for the internet that for sure I would write shorter stories because I felt so stress-free. But then when I measured it afterwards, I was like, oh, but this is 80 lines. Wow, if I had known beforehand that I had to write 80 lines, that would have been not fun at all. But now that I just knew that I could write whatever I wanted to write, and 40 lines would have been fine too, 10 lines would have been fine if that's what it was, but I could just write freely without any restrictions. I just still write 80 lines and it's all stress-free. Yeah, okay. This is pretty random, but it might be fitting for the end of the video. By the way, let me show you the cat. And then here, I just vacuumed this place, and I vacuumed the carpet too, the rug. But see, there's like my feet. So it's like I didn't do it correctly, but to do it correctly, I should just vacuum it and then never walk on it again, which isn't very realistic. So I'm kind of in doubt. I don't think my own rug back at my home, it doesn't do this effect. I mean, it looks a little bit neater if you've just vacuumed it, but the difference isn't this big. Well, anyway, this is gonna be it. I'm gonna pack up my stuff and get my bicycle and go to the daycare. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this very old school ASMR whisper video.